Welcome. Hi, I'm Nancy with The Toll, Pamela Shelby, producer Pam, and Amber with Into the Weeds. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
This is my first live, and it's going to be a lot of practicing, so just bear with us. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching us. If you're new to the Toll podcast, especially over the last few days after the Sheriff Jim Arnott release, welcome. Welcome. Fun fact about me, you guys, people are learning that I'm audio only.
Yep.
So it was new for me to actually set up a camera at all during an interview. And I did get some clips, and we'll release some more of those. But, you know, it's the same stuff that you're hearing in the podcast. But yes, I'm audio, and that's still a thing because I come from the radio background, right? 26 years in radio, and that theater of the mind is what I love. So yeah, any thoughts on that, you guys?
Well, we're not new. So
We're not
podcasts
new.
have been around, right? And when we launched in 2019, podcasts were, we were in the category of serial and in the category of
S-Town.
Yeah, that's right. You know, and so that was, you know, we've been around since then. Also, obviously, you have a radio background. And so producing and writing and pulling clips and getting it down to the essentials is kind of, that's where you live. That's your art form. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I encourage you guys to go check out our other pieces too. You know, I think about Hearts for Gloria. And when I showed up at a coffee shop with her, she drove 7 hours. Both her and her brother reveal a secret within the family concerning their sister's murder. And when I met Sarah at a coffee shop, the Chiefs were going into the Super Bowl, and she was wearing all red. And I walk in, and she's striking. I notice her. She looks exactly like her sister, except she has blue eyes. And I was like, oh, there's Sarah. And I head right to the table, and I sit down, and I was like, are you wearing red for the Chiefs? And she's like, no, I'm wearing red because it's Gloria's favorite color. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. And she leans across the table, and she says, I prayed to God 4 weeks ago that he would send me somebody to continue my sister's story because I just can't do it anymore. And here you are. I'll tell you anything you want to know. And I was like, holy smokes, the coffee shop is not where we need to be, you know? And I was just like, okay, I'm trying to figure out how to get on Facebook, and I'm sending messages to people. And my friend Linda's like, hey, I got an Airbnb in Ozark. You guys can drive out there and do it there. And I was like, oh, perfect. And it was. And I just think about that instance, like to put a camera in her face during those times, if you go listen, during those intimate times when she's talking about finding out that her sister was murdered, it would not have been the same. It wouldn't be the same piece. And so, you know, with Jeanette throughout season 2 of Poison Control, the same thing. She was able to, because I'm covering a lifetime of stories, not just an event in their life. I'm covering the entire life. She would be in her car and just talking to her phone and send me that clip. And so those are the kinds of things that I can do with just audio only and not have to depend on, you know, the video part of it. But I did take a camera, and I did take some video clips, and I'm trying.
Yeah, because you know, we're trying to capture more of, and this was the whole, you know, there was a portion in our Gypsy Rose continued piece where we talked about social presence. So obviously video is part of social, and grabbing those moments and being able to feed them out so that we can entice and show you that, you know, number one, that this is a valid interview, that this, and again, like not still be able to capitalize on that intimacy of the moment, while being able to show those moments on social. But overall, like, yeah, we're an audio podcast, and that's, you know, I think that for some people they might struggle. Like, I know with Spotify, sometimes when I'm listening to podcasts, I'll watch the subtitles, or even with YouTube and stuff to help me,
Right.
You know, with the visual component. But yeah.
What do you think, Amber, when you listen to podcasts?
So for the most part, I really enjoy podcasts. I love radio. So I loved listening to Art Bell on the radio and Paul Harvey and all of those guys, you know. So that's normal to me. And so it wasn't a big transition to go that route when podcasts started coming out. And then the video thing, I don't even really enjoy doing video myself. I never expected myself to do video. So the fact that I'm doing it is just like a huge mind-blowing thing for me. So I'm just encouraged that you are doing this now on video.
Yeah, I mean, like really stepping into, and we covered this topic like when I was launch of season 2 in 2025, and we were talking like what's next, and you knew what was next. You knew what I was gonna say,
And you weren't the only one.
and so yeah, you took to TikTok and started by just kind of throwing yourself into it and learning the ropes in real time. And so this segment, or this chapter of the Toll podcast, meaning the Gypsy Rose coverage and the discussions and part of the investigations that we've been lucky enough to be part of, and that you've been brave and invested and highly invested in those conversations. Like we've had the opportunity, but this was all part of that next stretch of where can we go, and what does it look like for us to hear or to get season 2 exposed. And truthfully, season 1, because we still cover in season 1, the path back home with the Toll podcast, we cover the case of 9-year-old Shirley Jane Rose, who went missing on her way home, and she was found December 13th of 1975. And we still hope for answers, right? Shirley was she's a real little girl, and her story is where the Toll starts, just covering the impact that case had on the community, and really also covering the culture around Missouri in 1975 or in the 70s, which is its own thing, baby.
Right. And I had no idea. I moved from Florida to Missouri.
Welcome.
Yeah, no, I mean, every place has its own upside down, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And that's it. Like Missouri, the Springfield community is Greene County and in the surrounding counties, wonderful people. Some of the most warm, good-hearted Midwestern humans. And we don't need to talk about what happens in the Ozarks, right? So then there's the other side where it's as beautiful as some of the people are. Woo, doggy.
And then had to have season 1 and season 2 intertwine in the way they do. I encourage, again, everybody to go listen to both seasons, because I could have never expected for them to overlap in a way they do. That keeps us going every day, because there's so many people involved in these circles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one thing that, watching your episodes about Shirley Jane Rose and about Jeanette, it seems like there is a lot of overlapping, and there are a lot of mysterious things that just seem coincidental, but
right, synchronicities.
Yeah, something.
Can be in synchronicities.
Yeah,
we live in that world, and it's really wild. It was wild when the biggest one was when I was researching the newspapers off of microfiche, and it was just all bad. You couldn't hardly read it. Yeah. And then I realized that Shirley Jane and I have the same birthday. And I'm like, I'm not seeing that. No, like, no, we did have the same birthday. And that was the really big push of keep going.
And I have the kind of the same situation with Athena Hogan. I have now found out that I have 3 separate connections kind of to her. One being we knew the man who found her. Then the man who beat her mother almost to death was the son of the man who owned my family home that we were buying from them.
Wow.
And then my aunt goes on to marry Athena's aunt after not aunt, my uncle. No, wait. Okay. My aunt goes on to marry Athena's aunt's widower. Does that
Okay.
make sense to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's a circle.
Oh, it's not, we need to make a board and like,
Right.
It's an oval circle, but yeah, I get you.
yeah.
So, but I had no idea that I had those three connections until I started getting into it. And I went and got microfiche. I was the first one to find a picture of her, and put it online as far as I know. So it's, I mean, you have to get down in the trenches and spend a lot of time looking for stuff in order to bring this stuff to light.
And that's why season 2 took 5 years, because I was investigating her father and her mother. And so there was a lot to unpack and unravel. And I didn't, it's still questions,
Mhm.
you can dig and dig and dig and still have so many questions at the end. It's very hard. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I also, we also conducted interviews. You were able to secure interviews with people who were very nervous to talk and to bring it back to Sheriff Jim Arnott and him kind of having that same experience when he's like, but people were nervous to talk, and whether it was because they might implicate themselves or because, Becca Scoops did a great job of, she said it well is what I want to say. She said, you'll have these families that are crime families, but it's like low level petty crime. And for everybody who may not know this, like Nancy and I are from, near the Ozarks in Missouri. And so you have families who kind of, a Gypsy went to the women's prison in Chillicothe, and my father would often reference the Chillicothe Women's Prison when talking about crime families in our own area,
Yeah, for sure.
Well, my cousin's there. My cousin's there, so what does that say about me?
Welcome to the family, Amber. Welcome.
Yes, that's right. And that's all that to say, like you've just got people who have adapted with survival instincts, right? And you don't talk to the police.
No,
Because
I
everybody
grew up not doing that.
Right.
No,
You
absolutely
get wind
not.
that Dee Dee may have been scamming people, and
That's done. That's done. That's over with. So
don't
there's
drag me
only.
into this.
That's right. That's right. And this in no way excuses the situation or the depths of and the severity of the behavior of Gypsy, and
That's
of
right.
course, but what I want to say is, while I don't know, I lost my words.
Okay, I got you. And what I do want to say is that people were commenting that they were disappointed the sheriff hasn't kept up with her antics now on social media. And it's like, he's the sheriff that encompasses the third largest city in the state of Missouri. Like, what do you think he is going to be sitting around watching her for? Like, he's busy, and this is fun.
That was my thread I was going to pull through, was like,
I think so.
It's the Ozarks,
Yeah.
guys. Like,
he's got plenty to work on. You wouldn't need to be revisiting
someday.
Gypsy.
Yeah.
Going, I played that for him, and he was like, "What did you expect? That's who she was when I arrested her. When she was arrested and she was brought here, and this is who she was." Yeah, and it's funny to listen to him too, and I think that people didn't appreciate the story that he had to tell of going on horseback and looking like there was a big search, and then the investigators in Wisconsin. No, nobody's coming in and out of that house with a wheelchair. Just to hear those stories, I thought were very interesting.
I was surprised about the horseback ride, searches and stuff like that. I didn't realize that. For whatever reason, I did not realize that they did that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So let's take it back to 2015. And I am working at a little agency, and my sister, who has called me repeatedly for the past, I don't know what at that point, 15 years, and told me that she is doing something, whether it's chasing a tornado and I love you,
Right.
which is always comforting, or you know, or, pulling me into a case. This morning, she had called me and was like, holy cow, I don't know what's happening. But the tone was not, I don't know what's happening. There was this girl, she couldn't walk and now she could walk. She was like, oh my gosh, there's this disabled child, this that's missing, and her mom's been murdered, and I don't know, it's unfolding, and so together, Nancy and I were on, like, day one, the Facebook forums, going through and culling through information as that was unfolding. But I touched on this a little bit, but there was somebody that Nancy worked with in the newsroom, and just a very kind-hearted human. And the whole newsroom really was. I mean, the station was a wonderful station, and very, very giving and connected to the community. And the sentiment was that she shared to me, and I almost remember this to quote it, is that he had said, if anybody touches a hair on that little girl's head, I'm going to kill them myself.
Because we were just like, oh my gosh, this mom and daughter, and what could have transpired,
No, I can't imagine. I've never been through a situation like that, so I can't even imagine.
And so we feel so duped at this point. We're like, what? Or just confused, not duped at that point, but confused. And so we go to the press conference. I went to the press conference where things are not as they appear. And then we get the pictures of the mugshots, and we're looking at them. We get back to the station and we're like, wait a minute, I've told this story, but the sex wasn't filled out on the form. And we were like, is she a dude? Because like the head shaved, and we're like, we're so confused.
Well, and at that point you had realized it wasn't just like, who, you know what I mean? It was on the heels of finding the other Facebook pages, all of those things were like, wait a second, because the community came out and put together a whole, two groups that I remember distinctly that were really digging into, wait a second, and unfolding this in real time on Facebook. So you and I were reading this. You in the station were definitely going, this isn't, you knew Gypsy. Maybe you didn't know her well, but you hadn't, and you knew exactly who this person was.
Well, and so the reporter called up to Wisconsin, and they were like, is this a girl or a boy? And they're like, hold on, please. And we were like, oh my God, what are we going to learn? And then they come back and they're, no, it's a girl. And we're like, it's a, and we're like, okay, all right, box checked. But there was a hot minute where we were like, it was going to take a really weird turn. But no, we were just so confused.
No, and take me back to the Facebook groups. When you guys were in those, what was your sense of what the public thought? I mean, was it really clear?
Everybody was finding, they found Damona pictures. The
knife, the red hair.
How did all of those people seeing all of this stuff and really digging in, how did that translate to then Mike Stanfield? We see now with the documents that I got the other day that he was piecemealing things together to give to Dan Patterson, and Dan Patterson, it doesn't seem as if he actually looked into anything and just was like, took Mike's word for it, and that was it.
I don't know. I can't tell you.
Wow.
I have no answers.
Okay. I mean, I know it happened, just hearing you guys talk about it, and then seeing those documents the other day, and then, I'm just so confused.
Yeah. So our mom married a man who murdered his first wife brutally in the state of Missouri, and she was 7 months pregnant with his child. And I'm gonna say that he was every bit as annoying as Gypsy Rose Blanchard in real life.
True that.
So, I mean, okay. And so, you know, even to
It's an episode called "My Mom Married a Murderer." If you guys want to go check it out, we
Yes.
uncover a lot of stuff in real time, and it's wild.
Yeah, you can't do this. I mean, he never met a person that he wasn't going to try sell something to, you know. And he served. Oh, and also to read his appeals, which we've gone through. The sense of entitlement, the same thing that we see with Gypsy Rose, that Sheriff Arnott talked about, which is she'll talk about anything but the murder, right? Because she can't actually turn around and look at that, because that would require some sort of accountability or something that her brain either doesn't have the capacity or the mechanism. It doesn't matter. It's not happening, right? Same for this individual. Same for the man that my mom married, Terry Greenhaw, for those who want to look it up. And he served 14 years of a life sentence.
Yeah, that's wild.
He got out for good behavior. And then he got his walking paper. So he never even had to, you know, go in front of a probation officer at a certain point.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
that happens too often.
We know that.
Yeah. And is it an injustice? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Which is why Sheriff Arnott has pushed that truth in sentencing. If you get sentenced to 10 years, you should do 10. If you get sentenced to 20, you should do 20. He's a big proponent of that and has been pushing that. So because you do a couple of years and you get to go out.
But then my cousin is sitting in Chillicothe for 25 years for drugs.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I say injustice. It's like, to his point, he's saying justice is served. You may not have liked it. I might not have liked it, but some people never get justice, and this was a form of it. And I can appreciate that. But what I would say is that the man that my mom married, the malignant narcissist who brutally murdered his
a pregnant
wife,
teenager,
died alone with nobody watching him.
I bet that hurt.
Didn't hurt us.
Oh, I know. But I bet it hurt him.
That's right.
That's a good way to go for him.
Yeah. And I think that to pull it back, is the Tool podcast going to continue talking about Gypsy Rose Blanchard? When it makes sense.
Yep.
When it makes sense. How it makes sense. I think that the way that we're going to talk about Gypsy is going to be true to how you've heard it in, both of our current episodes that touch on this. But at the end of the day, people should stop looking at her.
I agree. But,
so
they're going to, because she's putting herself out there for a public spectacle.
Something's going to happen.
I genuinely, at the beginning of all this, I was praying for her to just get out and live a peaceful, happy life, maybe advocate for the women in Chillicothe, because she's been there. She knows the struggles. And no, she came out to be an influencer and a celebrity. And that's when I decided, I got to look into this and see what the hell happened.
Right. The power of PR, right?
Yeah.
She came out with a brand, but those things, but she's not really, it's a mess. It's a mess, So I have a question for you both.
Yeah.
What would you say to the people now that we're on the other side of this interview, right? And I do think there are some really good things that came out of what Sheriff Arnott, was kind enough to share with us. What would you say to the people around Gypsy, the people closest to her?
Boy, I would wish that they could help her instead of enabling this behavior, but that's not who they are. So that's tough because it all crashes and burns at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell her friends and family who genuinely love and care about her to tell her, hey, maybe let's take a 6-month break to see how your life is for 6 months without all of this. Reevaluate, even if it's just a 6-month break, to see, if her life is happier.
But the people she surrounds herself with do nothing but throw gasoline on the fire.
I know, and that's the problem. But she's also like that as well herself. So, I mean, we can't just blame it on the people around her because she's doing the most herself. So we know that she goes into people's live streams. We know she goes into people's comment sections. If she could just find a way to be happy with herself, as herself in her home, with her family, it would go a long way to helping her life be much better.
And helping Aurora.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Like there's a better story here,
Mhm.
And that better story is a story around treatment and recovery, if that's possible,
Mhm.
around, I don't want to disclose how much I don't know or how much I do know about the activity that she does online, but I will say that, I will say that sometimes when I watch these like massive blunders, there's part of me that can relate to that. And it's a place where my brain is so flooded with chemicals, and I'm not taking a moment. I'm not calming down. I'm not stepping away. I'm not speaking with people who are keeping me rational. I am just, all cortisol and adrenaline. And that, yeah, at the end of the day, there's, a little girl. So I would say for myself, like, I think that I would say to the people around, in her closest circle, uh, look for those moments, of real authenticity.
Yeah.
That you can bring to the table. I like to think that, that there are people who are really supporting. I know there's a lot of concern about Aurora, and there's a lot of talk about Aurora, but I like to believe that, this little girl's got a. It sounds like from Dee Dee's mom to Dee Dee and then to Gypsy, like she's got a big job to break some like generational stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But it's possible. Look at all three of us.
but it's possible. So please,
Yes.
fail loudly, and sit in that. You know, sit in the failure, obviously, in the little cracks of the moments. Um, Show that humanity and that gentleness that makes us real, right? So I would hope that there would be some of that in her environment.
I really hope so.
Yeah.
A lot of people will look at me and say, oh, flipped or what. I don't even freaking know. I'm not flipping. I put out documents just yesterday or today. I can't remember when I put them out, but it's, I have empathy. I don't have sympathy, but I have empathy on the whole situation. And I started out this in prayer, and I genuinely want her to go and live a good, productive life for her and her child.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
So I want to play a clip because I'm practicing.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed Sheriff Arnott, I would encourage you to go listen to Main Character. And this is Dominique Gabriella, and she was a neighbor in the group of houses off to the east of Gypsies. And so I'm going to play this just so you can see that I did take a little video on this one too. Yay! But I guess I just want to go back to that because there are times when she seemed really like she'd lost weight.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Lots of weight. She looked just very frail. And in her face, it just looked hollow sometimes. Like her eyes were just, it was her eyes, a lot of had to do with her eyes, like something.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just, she looked sad. She looked very sad. And it was towards the end of all of this going on when the event happened, is like something was, she was hiding something. But I don't, you know, you can't tell. You can't just judge people.
So if you, like I said, enjoyed the sheriff and you're covering timelines and little nuggets of information, Dominique gives us plenty of little nuggets of information that we can throw in the timeline. She was in the house 2 months prior to the murder. And when I showed her those crime scene photos of all the bags and everything out in the living room, she's like, that's unrecognizable to me. And so you can start filling in maybe what happened in that house toward that time when you match those with Dee Dee's searches and talk about, you know, Gypsy needing to get out of the house and stuff. So it's just stuff like that. You know, and these interviews aren't groundbreaking. The sheriff didn't walk in and throw a folder on the table and be like, here's stuff you've never heard. You know, that was never going to happen. These were two professionals sitting down for a conversation about an event that he covered, and that is still very much asked about in certain circles. I would say less than 1% of people here in the Springfield area know anything. It stopped at her sentencing.
And they don't care either.
Don't care, don't know. Are you on TikTok? Nope. Never heard of what's going on. If I want to talk about her at all, I have to go to TikTok. Nobody around here cares.
Yeah, because it's the Ozarks, y'all.
Back to that.
Google it. There's some unsolved cases, or there's some developing. Again, like, so I hear that clip, and what I think of is, oh, she's on drugs. Am I right? Maybe. I think I'm probably right. Her eyes had that look and everything. Well, we know she was doing her mom's pill, or she was taking her mom's pills and medication. So, like, you know, anybody been around a dope addict? Their eyes, you know, when you go back to that moment and you're like, how did I know? It's in their eyes. They don't look healthy. They look sunken in. They look dark. They look like you don't sleep on a regular sleep schedule or eat on a regular food schedule, or, you know, like.
And that was just weeks before the murder too. So she's plotting, and they're getting toward the end.
Yeah.
But then other people would say, well, she was getting treatment because they were going back and forth to New York City, or not New York City, Kansas City,
New York City.
And I still think she was getting treatment, you know, with the timeline and the 8-day gaps where she's not on social media. I do believe she had some kind of anemia or some kind of leukemia that was being treated. I still stand behind that.
I do too.
Some of it could be true.
None of it could be true.
Right?
Maybe all of it's true, but only in moments where you're like, oh, how'd that slip? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the mind of a crazy person, and we're trying to rationalize something from a crazy person, and that doesn't happen. I will say, if you're kind of new to the Gypsy thing, go to Into the Weeds podcast, click on more there at the top, and go to the Google Drive. Everything's in there. Even my stuff with Sheriff Arnott's going to be in there. And start with the interrogation tapes. There's a lot you can learn from the interrogation tapes now that we go back and we know. And I just want everybody to know too that I didn't put music under Dominique, and I didn't put music under Sheriff Arnott, so that there was no conflict and everybody could use them and talk about them. So that was by design. So thank you for making my production easier.
That's awesome of you.
But yeah, it's important to have these interviews, no matter how some of you perceived they should have been, like for the history, which is what Amber is always going back to. We need to be on the right side of history, and these interviews are important for that purpose.
Yeah, because like I'm learning now, things I learned way back in the day weren't true at all. So
yeah, and that's right. And this while Okay. So while you might not feel like this was the earth shattering, like he's again walking in, throwing a folder on and being like, let's do this, right? Which
Right.
was never going to happen.
No.
He's still in office, you guys, and that's just not how things are done. But what this does do is it creates, it provides a new light into the narrative that is supported by law enforcement. And why is that important? That's important because some of my heroes have fallen for the narrative of Munchausen by proxy.
Mhm.
Again, Becca Scoops did when she covered this episode of ours, The Gypsy Rose Continued. She said it really, really well, which was that every time I do that, I lose my thread. Every time I what did she say? Nancy, pick me up, help me out here.
I don't know where you were going with this one.
Yeah. Here we go. There. Becca Scoops said it well. And when she said that this is really just a case of rebellion. You have a kid that's living with her mom and doesn't like the rules anymore, and kills her mom. Those aren't uncommon.
Right.
Unfortunately. And so to let that narrative be more widely known allows the people who are really doing important work, I mean critical work, to not sign off on this person and therefore not have them be tarnished by this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's really valuable.
Yeah. And what do you guys think about the people who do interview her and don't ask her and don't look into, the wider story?
That had to be by design, didn't it? Just to catch her in some lies and just let her go and show her as she is, how she wants to be seen, because there is no way that man did not know what's happening. He did not have Gypsy Rose right here in his studio in front of a microphone and do that. Give me a break.
Yeah. But unfortunately it happens every time she goes somewhere to do one. And,
So frustrating.
It is frustrating. And I've lost a lot of faith in journalism and in, journalism, I guess.
And the right side of truth and justice and accountability. Yeah, that one, it just floored me to a point where I was like, this is all fake, right? This is for clicks. This is for money, whatever that is. That.
Yeah, because of course I don't expect him to get into the case files and dig all that up, but he does have a team. And I would assume that, they knew what was going on as well. And for them to just not bring anything controversial up,
no pushback, zero.
Yeah.
Sure. And is that first of all, who booked this? I have to believe that she's got, people booking this. And is that the nature of his podcast, period?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know enough to say that. Probably not. Maybe it's, it was a known softball and he got clicks.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about Gypsy is that, people she does something and people talk about it for a moment and then they don't talk about that anymore. So she constantly has to have another antic. So you can get, if you're, kind of a middle of the road mainstream, you can hop into that for a moment and hop out of it and almost come out untarnished because she's just a machine of movement.
Well, and I found out that people don't really want to touch the story or question the narrative because legally they could be sued, and a lot of people are scared about that, and they just allow her to push the narrative because they don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah, it's the medical records. When I'm thinking about these documentaries and people getting so close, the talks, it stops at the medical records, right? Because we think we know where they came from. Did they? Have they been altered? There's all the questions, and this is HIPAA stuff. And you have a producer who's like, okay, I need to get in the box from Christy's living room, and dig in it myself and find these and verify them. And that's not going to happen.
No, it's not. But you would think that if they would give them to this one person, that they would give them to a more credible person. But
right.
I guess now it's to the point where they can't put the genie back in the bottle, and they don't want to make it worse for themselves.
It's wild. It's wild how much she wins.
Yeah, and she always does.
You guys. I don't want to give up how much I'm watching and how much I'm not watching, but she winning.
Okay, that's fair. All right. I hear you.
Because
producer Pam's here
looking back,
us.
I'm stopped. Like every. Oh, well, that was dumb.
These little moments of not going mainstream. Yeah. How much she's winning on just not being held accountable. So that's what I mean. But
and what even is being held accountable? That's the point. It's like you spin your wheels constantly, like, yeah. And that's why I just dipped out of it all, because I was like, I am done with it.
Yeah, you guys, the posse that's around her right now, this group of people who are seizing an opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. Or perhaps believe that there's a connection that's there that's really authentic, but it ain't. Whatever lesson you have to learn, I am so sorry. You should try listening to people. Not learning this the hard way. This doesn't.
Harm is real.
Yeah, this doesn't end with fanfare.
Well, and I think Sheriff Arnott said it best. I mean, he said, look at the mega celebrities. It doesn't end well for them, and her story's way worse. So
yeah, there's no
not a good story.
There's no dignity at the end of this. It is. Yeah.
Okay, I want to play a couple of other things before we wind down, because I'm practicing. So this is one of the promos that was out that producer Pam and the lovely Roy Ritchie put together, which I appreciate. They do such a great job.
Yes, they do.
I'm going to play this.
You're the Gypsy Rose Sheriff. And I'm like,
okay, we still have
okay.
They throw out the things aren't over.
So remove that. There we go.
And I go, well, yeah. And I want to start.
Here we go.
If I travel to another state, you're the Gypsy Rose Sheriff. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And, and then they throw out the things aren't always as they appear. And I go, well, yeah.
And I want to start off with saying things are not always as they appear.
He's probably looking at me right there. I was like, what? So when he hits the table, I had one of our buttons leaning up because I didn't have anything that said the toll on it. And I was like, oh, I wish I had, something there. And so I had one of our buttons leaning up against the mic stand. And when he hits it, that button, you can't see it, but it goes. But being a professional, I wasn't like, oh, like you don't stop, you just keep going. Mm-hmm. Or I wouldn't have had that clip, if I'd have paid attention to the button or reacted to the button. So
yeah. And I also want to say, when people are craving more, you guys, this is it. It's me and Nancy. Like
I feel the same way.
We don't have a big production crew. We're not, we are dedicated to our story and the mission of telling, the stories of the people, so far in Missouri that have been impacted by the cases that we cover.
Yeah, when people consume my 12-part series in, one day, and they're like, where's more? And I'm like, oh, good.
So some of those interviews took a long time to get. Yeah.
Really hard. Yeah. And so with that, I want to play this tease from season 2, Poison Control.
Is insane. to just imagine that my father, that everybody else saw as this other person, would be even capable of these things, yet I know what went on in our house.
It takes a while for me to get the courage to ask, what exactly happened in your house?
Season 2, Poison Control. And somebody messaged me on that. They made a comment saying, "Ooh, that sounds like my dad." And we had a conversation about how she grew up, and she's writing a book, grew up in a house with somebody who's doing 6 life sentences. So
Wow.
I have a lot of people who message me saying they can't get past the first part. It's a family secret. This woman, the mom, was investigated by the FBI for 4 years for poison, and many people in her circle have been sick, and some have died. But it ultimately starts with a family secret, and a lot of people get stuck in that very beginning because, as a child, they saw something or something happened to them, and it is so hard to piece together and to try and figure out what's real and what's a dream and what's it's all blurry and it's scary. And so I get a lot of messages from people who get stuck there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was just going to say, I got stuck there for a little bit thinking about a lot of things. After listening to that whole season, I really had to sit with my thoughts for a little bit and think about some things.
Yeah. So the Toll podcast is a passion project. My sister and I, and the Poison Control, our second season, was, like Nancy said, a 5-year endeavor to put together. And the culprit she's still alive. She's still out there, the alleged serial killer. And I want to say that I think that one of the great values of this work in this season was that piece that you're talking about, Nancy, where people are like, oh, that's relatable. That is important when it comes to this case, because even myself, like, Jeannie, who is the person that we're covering, used to take food and put it right up to people's lips. And that Midwestern hospitality, right? Yeah. That thing that's really beautiful that I was talking about in that region and in the Midwest was taken advantage of, right? It was used against the kind-hearted people to literally make them sick and kill them. We believe.
Allegedly.
We believe.
And there's religion and all kinds of different things sprinkled in.
And functional blindness.
Yeah.
A lot of people relate to that I'm a one-man show standing up against the evil, and everybody else is just too afraid. Whatever they're getting from this person, they can't let go.
Yeah. And I like to believe that, that there's at least one person out there that could listen to this, and the next time a spoon is being held to their lips, yes, and they feel that feeling in their guts.
If it feels weird, right?
It feels weird.
Don't.
Then say no. Hit the spoon. That's right.
Yeah, if it feels weird, somebody's feeding you something, or it's insistent that you try it. You can't leave until you don't try it.
Or the things that like there's a lot of inconsistencies, and your gut is telling you that something's off, and you listen to that. And I feel like this season really adds credence to that.
That is a big message out of this. Just listen to your gut. And man, it's a wild ride. And there's a lot of supplemental videos out there that we have. And because I still couldn't cover it all, even though I did 12 episodes, this woman's life is very crazy, and there's a lot of crazy stories, and I had a lot of pictures. So I'm going back to that. I've been trying. Right. So yeah. Okay. Well, I think we just did our first live, and that was cool.
That's
Amber,
awesome.
this is what you do to help veterans. You
Yep.
teach them how to tell their own story through teaching them this podcast stuff. And she's like, do you want me to help you? It's what I do. And I was like, yes. So I appreciate you and your friendship so much.
You're welcome. Now, we're not actually going live on the Toll podcast for some reason, I think, because we didn't hook up the right email. But
we can put it on there.
Yeah, we're going to put it on there. So I will teach you how to do that, though.
And producer Pam, thank you for always keeping me grounded. My goodness.
And you're an inspiration as well. Both of you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Honestly, because, you know, I've come from a dark place. I've come from a lot of baggage, and all three of us are out there doing what we need to do. And we picked ourselves up and we moved on. So
right.
I'm proud of you.
We're proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Toll. Thanks for sharing The Toll. I appreciate you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.